Hello and a very good morning, dear students. This is your English language instructor, and today we're going to learn together how to write feature article. We also call this feature story. The first question before we delve into the subject or we learn about the structure of a feature story or a feature article is exactly what is feature article. So suppose that you as a journalist have seen something that is intriguing, something that is special, something that you think the world should know about. It could be related to any custom, cultural aspect, norms, values, any incident that has changed people, so on and so forth. It can also be about someone who's done something in his life that people should know about. So you as journalists decide to feature that. And how do you do it? You write an article on that, basically. Okay. Now, the structure of a feature story is slightly different from a news article. The first thing that is we should, while it may look like the same, that it has a headline, it has a lead, it has introduction, body, conclusion, quotes, all of that, but it's in the language that you choose to write your feature story. When we're writing a news article, what we do is basically we keep our language objective. We do not use sensitive or emotional words. We use objective, neutral language to simply tell people what happened in the incident. So, for example, yesterday an accident happened, which 100 people died. So that's how you narrate something in a news article. But what makes a story feature possible, or how do you differentiate a news article from a feature story is, for example, out of all of the 100 people who died in that bus, someone survived. And the person who survived, has a story to tell you. So that's when you decide to write something that is emotional, something that has a bit of, subjective understanding. You try to make your language catchy, persuasive. You make it compelling. It's more like reading a story, right, than just reading an article. So you basically talk about that person's life and how he survived that accident and what he made out of it and what he's doing now and so on and so forth. So that's what feature story is like. Okay, now we talk about the structure of a feature story. So the first thing is headline. Always remember, we've also learned this in the previous lesson when we were talking about a news article, that a catchy and concise title that captures the essence of the story. So, for example, we say that the person who survived the accident, we have to create a headline out of that. We say, for example, defeat the battle or won the battle, made history. Right? So, won the battle, made history is like a headline for the story that you're going to talk about. So this is always written at the top of the story. We've learned that the first comes your title and then comes your headline. So then you write the headline. It has to be catchy and compelling. When I go through the headline, I should really want to read the story. Okay? So the first thing is, then comes the lead. We've discussed this earlier as well. What is a lead? It's a captivating opening story or opening paragraph that hooks the reader. What is the meaning of captivating? Captivating is something that can hold you, that can make you read it, that makes you want to know about it, something that is attractive enough that you keep looking into it. So it's captivating. But in short, in a story, a feature story, what we do is basically we captivate people through our words. We choose words that make people want to read more, people want to listen to us, right? So that hooks the reader. Hooks the reader means it makes your reader engaging with you. The reader would be reading along and he wouldn't want to leave any word out of that story. He would want to read all of that. So that's basically how a lead is. It is always before your main story. It's like 3 to 4 lines in which you talk about, you write something captivating about your main story. So, for example, if we talk about the person who survived the accident, we don't simply start our story with this XYZ survived the accident, now he's living. No, we say amidst that chaos, amidst those injuries, and between the struggles of trying to survive, a man was trying hard enough to, help himself out. Something like that. So your reader is liking your story. Your reader is being captivated and he really wants to go ahead with whatever you're narrating in your feature story. So the first 3 sentences of any story that explains 5 W's and H are known as lead. 5 W's as in what, when, where, why, and how. Right? So you answer those questions beautifully. You write some sentences that answer all those questions, but make it, really compelling. Is basically your lead. Okay, so you've written the title of your feature story, then you've written the headline, then you've written the lead. Now comes your introduction. We've learned this before as well, that any article is generally divided into 3 parts. There is introduction, there is body, and then there's conclusion. In the introduction, you provide the context and you introduce the subject. So in the scenario of the story we're talking about, you tell people about the context, as in how did you get to know about this man? That basically this man survived the accident. There was an accident maybe a year earlier, and it was a horrible accident in which all people died, 100 people died, except one person who survived it, right? So this is your context. And then you introduce the subject. You say that this person who survived the accident, his name is XYZ. Let's say his name is Ahmed, for example, and he was maybe a student. If not a student, he was an employee, anything, right? So the lead is also a part of the introduction itself. Sometimes the lead that we write before the introduction is actually the introduction of your article. It's not necessarily that you write a separate lead and then you begin your story once again with an introduction. No, sometimes you can also combine both your lead and the introduction of your article together. Okay? So in that, basically, you introduce who this person is and you talk about him. Okay. Then afterward comes your body. The body is the main narrative section that explores the topic in depth. So now you're basically going to narrate the whole story. How did this accident take place? How it happened? What time of the day? What day of the month? Which year? Was it like he was maybe listening to music at that time, or was he reading a book, or was he working on his laptop? Was he in the washroom? Things like that. It's simply you narrate the whole story, that how did this accident take place, and when the accident took place, what were the circumstances, how did he feel. He will tell you each and everything. He'll tell you how the bus how the bus got molded, and how all of that happened, how the accident took place, for example, how it reverted. Maybe the bus fell down right from a steep mountain or something. So anything could have happened, right? So he will tell you the whole story of how it happened, how he was feeling during the accident, and how he felt afterwards. And when he got to know that all people died except him, what were his feelings? What was he going through? He will tell you all about his emotions. He will tell you all about his anger, his feelings. the guilt, the sadness, each and everything is going to narrate that. And this is basically your main narrative. This is your body. This is where you discuss each and everything in your feature story. Okay, so it also includes interviews or anecdotes and background information. Like I told you, you're going to, when you feature someone in your story or when you feature someone in your article, what you do basically is that you go to them and you interview them. So you've seen this happening right in the movies, across the internet. That what they do is basically they tap on the record button and they put the recorder right next to them and they start asking questions. And when they ask a question, because they want the interviewee, the person who's being interviewed, to say everything. So the interviewer will stay quiet and he will let the interviewee say each and everything that's in his heart, right? So that's how you build your narrative. Later on, you listen to the story in the interview and you start writing your feature story. You tell people how the accident took place. You tell them what was he like during the accident, and after he survived, what he made out of his life. Okay, so this is what the body of your article should look like. Again, an important thing is your language. You're not going to be objective because you're trying to inspire people, because you want people to you want to make someone famous. You think this person was so special that his story was narrated. So when you think something is special, you use captivating words, you use compelling words, you make people fall in love with the story that you have developed. So it's not objective language. You don't just tell me that there was an accident. You say there was a horrific, terrible, lethal accident. Lethal means killing, like it will kill people. You see the adjectives that you use are going to basically change how the reader is going to understand the story and how they will imagine it in their minds. So if you just tell me there was an accident, how would they know that it was so bad or so horrific that it killed everyone? But when you use those words like horrific, lethal, people will relate to it and they will know that it was really bad. The accident was actually okay, then afterwards comes your conclusion. So once you have written the whole story, now what you do is basically you wrap up the story, you offer insights. What you do is basically you tell people that you see this person when he survived the accident, he realized the value of his life, and he realized that life is short, and he realized that he was lucky. So what did he make out of his life? Did he become someone famous? Did he fight the battle and became a strong person? Did he take those chances that he was missing out on previously in his life? Things that changed his life completely. What are those aspects? What are the perceptions that made him look at life from a different angle? So you discuss that in the conclusion of your article, right? And most of the time it leaves the reader with something to ponder. So your reader, once they end the story, right, they've read the whole story till the conclusion. Now what they do is basically they ponder. So when you tell them that he realized that life is short and life is different than what he used to perceive it is, and life is unpredictable and life is vulnerable, you as a reader will start to think about it, and you as a reader would be like, things will change your perception because now you have read a story of someone. Now that story inspires you. So that's the beauty of a story article or a feature article or a feature story, that you write it so well and so beautifully that it leaves your reader captivated, right? So this is what a feature story. So this is one example. In this, for instance, it's not about a person over here, it's about custom. So culture revival through music. Now, this is the first headline. You read it. Harmony in the hills. Preserving indigenous culture through music. Harmony in the hills, what it means. Harmony means solidarity, living together. In the hills means in the mountains, right? Preserving means securing, keeping something safe. Preserving indigenous culture. Indigenous culture means the local culture through music. So now you see, this person is going to talk about music over here. That how does music play a role in keeping people together, in harmonizing, or in keeping culture intact? So yeah, that's what the article is going to be all about. Now, the first 4 to 5 lines, that's basically the lead, right? In the heart of the rolling hills, where the whispering winds carry tales of times long past, so on and so forth. That's how he's built his lead. He's answering all 5 questions: what, when, how, why, all of that, right? And then his body is divided into 3 parts, and in each part he's given a heading. So it's optional whether you want to give a heading or you don't. So yeah, that's all that he did. He talked about it in 3 parts, and then comes your last is the conclusion, where the paragraph starts with as the last notes of the evening's performance fade into the night. So that's basically the conclusion of the article. So see, there is a title, then there is headline, and then there is a lead, then there is the body of the article, and then there is the conclusion. Again, once again, if I were to repeat it, he did not differentiate between the lead separately and the introduction separately. He's used the lead as his introduction and then moved ahead with his article, dividing the body into 3 parts, part 1, 2, and 3, and finally gave you the conclusion. And now you see, this is not any simple news article. Over here, we're not talking about the conflict between Palestine and Israel, for example, or we're not talking about the economy of the country, or we're not talking about anything else. What we're doing basically is we're trying to we're using a custom, that is culture, and we're writing a story. This is another example of a feature story. My husband was a hero. So this woman, basically, widow, seeks recognition for carpenter at WTC. So a widow means a woman whose husband has died. Okay? Seeks recognition means she wants her husband to be recognized. He was what? He was a carpenter, basically. So this is how the story is written. My husband was a hero, and then there is a headline, and then the story is written. So this is how you feature a story. Okay, now that we have learned about the structure of writing any feature article or feature story, your task is basically to write a compelling feature story of 500 words in which you have to talk about if you know someone who's special, someone whose story must be featured, someone who's not been recognized, but you think in real life he's done or she has done something that she should be recognized for, you can write that feature story for them or for her, and it has to be of 500 words. Use images if you like, it's optional, and write captivating headlines to make your feature article or story compelling to the reader, and then submit it within the quiz box. And that is it for today's class. If you have any question, you can always reach out to me. Goodbye.